What is up, guys? Welcome back to the third episode of the 0 to 20K a month challenge. Now, this episode is going to be all over the place. We did go mountain biking, we hit a lift, and obviously we're reviewing the trades. Will took 4 trades this week. But again, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I will see you in there. All right, guys, so we fumbled the jump a little bit. Well, the wall ride. Let me know. Take your guesses right now. Is Will gonna smack this or is he gonna eat shit? He's going pretty high up right now, so I'm not really fully sure. Let's see, guys. Take your votes. Put in the comments below. We're about to find out. And he comes. Oh shit. Don't fall off. That was pretty close.
Mentor's finally touching some grass.
Oh, okay. We're good.
You got it, bro.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Famous last words?
Hey, chill.
Not that bad?
I got it.
Bruh. All right, we're about to go faster this time?
Yeah, way faster.
Way faster, okay. I don't know if that's a good thing, but let's see.
Let's hope so. 50-50.
I made 300,000 on a wake up. I was having a bad dream, but it's better now. Make a snake shed skin, you found a better route. Project bitch with bougie hoes, them hoes gang way. Got that money, I bet them hoes gon' play the same way. I was supposed to get that paper, stay the same way. She say I got mean, but I mean pure. Diamond stitch leather and that Bentley made it orange.
All right, guys, so we're about to hit a little lift right now. We're hitting chest. I'm about to record it.
Got a tens in me pocket and a bottle for the tris, 5 racks in the bank, put it all up on me wrist, never.
All right, guys, so we just benched 180 and it did move pretty easy according to Will. So he's forcing me to try 225. I have never tried 225 in my life and I don't think I can hit it, but we're about to find out.
Nighttime and I'm creeping through the mansion. Black gems on me neck, stay dancing. Beds hit me landstone, kill stock comes them backstage pass, cause I'm young and I'm handsome. Got long black hair like an emo. Drugs all white out.
So we dialed. Perfect form. We're doing 2 plates. He had to one-up me with the 25, but low-key peak form. All right, guys, so we just finished our workout. We are about to put Will onto game. We're about to go to Kava. His first time. His life is going to be changed in another way, not only in trading, but in the daily performance. There's nothing better than a nice little Kava bowl.
See what all the hype's
Absolute
about.
peak here. About to get the first reaction. I don't even know if you got an okay bowl, but you're going to have to try the peak one. I'm not going to lie.
All right, I will. It's my first time here.
First time. I don't know if you're just gonna be good with the spinach, low key.
No, I love spinach.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
Now you'll probably like it. Fuck with it?
It's peak.
Peak? All right, so we're gonna review the week. Kind of run me through how the week went in your eyes, because it definitely was a bit more of a difficult week.
So this week was definitely tough on me psychologically because I did have 3 break-even trades in a
Uh-huh.
row. So
We're gonna take a look at these trades right now. So we're gonna be looking at the first trade of the week, the first break even. If you can kind of give us a rundown, the ideas and the confluences behind this trade, and then we'll look at the journal reflection, what you wrote from there.
okay, so basically on this day I wanted to target an hourly high, and once we had this small move up, I was just waiting for like a little bit of a retracement just to enter into longs, and
Yeah.
I also had like all these 1-minute gaps right here,
Protecting your stop loss.
protecting my stop loss, because I did learn not this past Friday but the Friday before that every single time I take a trade I need to have a protected stop loss.
Yeah.
And I did get break even, and although price ran to my take profit, this should have been a no trade day.
Yeah.
I should have scaled up into the 5-minute or 15-minute and seen that price was just not the
Yeah,
best.
so if we kind of zoom out, like we can't really look at the 15-minute, but if we zoom out and we just kind of see the range before, you can kind of see like we really are just not really moving, and the 5 and the 15-minute are going to confirm this. And there is another reflection that you did end up having. You actually looked at ES and you saw that there was, you know, you can open your trading
Yeah.
journal, but
So on that day, on Tuesday, I originally wanted the trade on ES, which it would have looked like this.
Yeah.
And the reason I didn't take the trade on ES was, it was basically because I was scared of trading ES.
you were never trading ES.
I never trade ES. I'm like, I don't know why, but I'm scared of it.
It's like a mental thing.
Yeah.
it's like unlocking your ES virginity. Like, that's the best way to put it. In the beginning, it's like, bro, who wants to trade ES? But like, when you take a trade on ES and it bangs, and then the same exact trade on NQ would have chopped you at break even, you're like, okay, I'm just gonna trade ES now. So that's kind of the reflection you made. And like you can see, NQ just did not deliver because it was the more bearish pair, versus ES, it did deliver. And I actually do like this entry up here a bit more from this inverse, because we do start to kind of break out of the range. And on the 5 minute, it would kind of confirm the idea. We'll look at that. So if you look on the 5 minute, you can see price does foot bullish. We push down, we hold these lows, and you see the 5 minute inverses this gap, and then we retrace back to the gap, get a reaction out of the gap, and then we continue higher, you know, to these highs up here. So I do prefer that trade a bit more, but I still do think it is risky, just because you can see, I mean, we are kind of in this accordion. Like, if we look at the line chart, it's like, it still doesn't look that good. But this entry right here, I think, is probably the best entry. You can see, boom, pull, push up, retrace, invalidation of that retrace, and look, we deliver higher. So I think that entry right there on ES would have been the best. Like, I think that's the best trade of that day. But I'm glad you did go break even, and even though it did play out to your target, I think that was a good break even. But I think the main reflection to make is just like, be more hesitant on those days, and possibly just don't even trade, you know, those range days.
Definitely not be stuck on the 1 minute time frame.
Yeah.
Because if I'm stuck on the 1 minute time frame, I can get faked out.
Yeah.
And that's just a loss that I didn't need to take.
Exactly. So we'll look at the other 2 break even trades before, you know, we go into the end of the week. All right, so we're currently going to get into the next trade, and this was Wednesday. If you want to explain the reason you took this execution, the idea behind it.
So obviously on market open, we just dump immediately. And you know, I wasn't really wanting to take a short. I wanted longs.
Yeah.
And I kind of waited for a recovery, and that's what we get. We started buying back extremely, like, aggressively. So I started waiting for a retrace. And on this candle, this should have been my entry. I was kind of hesitating on entering. And
why were you hesitating?
Honestly,
what do you think?
it was based out of fear. Like, it was, if this followed my system, but it was just out of fear.
Yeah.
And I guess I wanted a little bit more confirmation, and I was also targeting, if I zoom out a little bit, I was targeting this high right here, which was an hourly high, and I should have just been targeting over here. Because if I would have entered as soon as this candle closed and then
TP there, it's probably like a 1-to-1 around. Yeah, 1.1.
1-to-1.
So it's efficient.
Yeah, it's efficient. I would have hit take profit, and it's less risk on the table.
Yeah. So we'll look at the journal entry, and we'll look at why it was actually not good to target this high above, because I don't think this entry was bad. I was actually considering it, but there was one thing that strayed me away from this trade, and I think it is the reason that we did end up actually not delivering either. So we will take a look at that. Look at the hourly time frame here. It's going to answer your question. You can see we've been in this hourly range. We tapped the gap, failed to go up once, failed to go up twice, and you're trying this third pop-up. Yes, you're not targeting these external highs, you're targeting the first high, but you're still trading in this range, and you're still banking on the fact that we're going to get volume and now break out of this range. And for your TP, it's like, we do have to break past this range, we do have to break past this hourly bearish candle closure. We do really need that volume. And again, for me, it's just predicting instead of reacting, right? I do think if you did TP early, that trade is okay, but it's still a trade, you see, and it's like, we are in a range, but I think these highs can get hit, so it's worth taking a stab to those highs. But you expecting price to fluidly deliver, you know, to these highs right here, knowing that what the market is trying to tell you is we are just currently ranging. If we wanted to go higher, you have to understand, we would have went higher on Tuesday. The second we tap this gap, after this displacing candle, the next candle should have taken these highs, and we would be back at all-time high. But what ended up happening is we actually edged this, and what happened right after, we started selling off. I actually ended up catching a short a bit later in the day. It was on Wednesday. It was like right around here. And it's like, what you normally will see, if we are in a spot where we want to move, where like it makes sense for us to move, which is that 4-hour gap, and then you see we start slowing down, price starts just ranging, it's usually a sign that we might not hold that gap. Because when we hold good gaps, we instantly react. And the fact that we're lingering in this gap for like a whole day, like literally 24 hours, we're lingering in this gap, honestly more, it's like, you don't want to expect it to hold. If it does hold, and let's say we start closing above these highs, this high here, now you can take a really nice long to all-time highs. Like, you can look up right here. When we do start closing above these highs right here, which is to the right, you see we do start running. We do absolutely run after we close above these highs. But while we're still in this range, just I would always wait for a candle close out of the range. So this right here, you get your candle closes out of the range, and the same way if we were bullish, we would have got a candle close out of the range, if that makes sense. Does it make sense? All right, so we'll look at the journal, see what you wrote those days, see what we can improve. So it looks like you did write it down. The hourly time frame was a range. This alone should have been enough to keep me away from placing a trade, but you still, ended up taking a trade. So what was kind of like your idea? What was your reflection on why you did take a range? Do you think it was because you got break even the last day and maybe it hit you TP and you're like...
So yeah, that could have been part of it. And also, I think my issue for that day was I was stuck on the 1 minute.
Yeah.
Like, I was so focused on the 1 minute, trying to catch an entry to that long,
yeah,
that I didn't care that we were in the hourly range, or I didn't go on the 5 minute, the 15 minute, even the hourly to see that we were still in that range, and that my trade on the 1 minute is going to be low probability.
What I always say is you have to unlock the lower time frames before you can scale down. If the hourly is not clear, you can't go to a more minuscule time frame, the 15 minute. It's just going to give you more data, but if the higher time frame data isn't clear, the lower time frame data is just going to be even more insignificant. And now you scale down to 1 minute, it's like now you have really insignificant data, and it's easy for you to just FOMO into a trade. You see a nice 1 minute close and you're like, we want to go higher, and then you just FOMO into a 1 minute trade, but it's like my stops aren't protected or whatever. I don't think this trade was fully the case. I did think you waited enough for confirmation, but one thing I am noticing is like a lot of your trades are based off that 1 minute, and some of them do apply the higher time frame. We'll look at the win you actually took on Friday, and the reason it won is just due to the higher time frames being bullish as well. But you do kind of seem to like to jump the gun. So that's one thing we're definitely going to have to work on this upcoming week, and I want you to reflect on, and we'll make a whole new journal reflection, which is just you have to earn the lower time frames, and you really have to make sure the higher ones are clean before you scale down, because it's really easy to get faked out on a lower time frame move when you're only watching the 1 minute, you're watching the candles move fast. Even though you might be distracted, it's still easy to FOMO into a trade. So this was the trade on Thursday, and this is probably the most fried trade of all week. So I do want to see an explanation behind this idea, and just being honest with yourself, and then we'll look at what you did right on your reflection. So.
Okay, so my original trade, I wanted after this candle close. So my trade would have been this right here, my stops at the bottom of that candle, and there was an hourly high. I can't remember where exactly it was, but it was somewhere around here, and I missed my entry. I got, not to give an excuse because this was completely my fault, but I missed my entry, and I saw price hit my take profit within like 5 minutes, and I'm like, damn, I can't believe I missed that. After 2 break-even trades too
for the week,
it was giving me a little bit of like FOMO. Yeah, and I saw these candles after, and I'm like, wait. All right, we're still displacing up. Let me see if I can catch a little scalp to a 15-minute high. And so I entered after this bullish candle, stops below the body. And as soon as this candle hadn't closed yet, but keep in mind, while the trade was running, the body of the candle was way up here. So I'm like, all right, either we run to this 15-minute high or we go back and stop me out. And I went break even as soon as this candle was way up here. And I got break even instantly, but it did save me a loss.
So that was a good choice that you did go break even instantly, because this trade you were absolutely chasing price, and we're gonna look at why you were chasing price, and you did get pretty lucky. I'm glad you managed it the way you did, because it definitely could have been a loss. So one thing I wanted to point out, this was that day on Thursday. If we actually look at ES, it was the more bullish pair. We started making bullish structure right into open. You can see, boom, higher highs, retrace, higher highs. And then we kind of invalidated this area right here, which was these bearish gaps as highs. We did not reject, and higher above, we actually had a 4-hour gap. So we're gonna have to zoom in real quick to take a look at that. Okay, so boom. Look at this, we zoom in. You can see that day, we pushed down, we failed to take these lows. NQ does take this low right here. And the only really logical target to me is back up to this 4-hour gap. And then there was some highs that we had stacked up on the 15-minute as well. So in my opinion, like, if you can see, the real entry would have been wanting to take some sort of longs to these highs or this high here. And you can see after these highs are taken, price slows down very drastically. We go from volume and literally no drawdown to right here. It's like you're taking the sketchy entry, you're chasing price, and you're on the weaker asset, you're on NQ. And you can see how easy it is to get retraced on, to get stopped out, when you are trading that weaker asset. That's why it's so important to remember these things and apply them. Again, watching how price is doing, and if we do take out some targets, we do tap that big gap, don't be oblivious to the higher time frame. Understand we're still in that 4-hour gap, we're not just going to move through it like butter. We're going to get some sort of resistance, and that resistance is the resistance that's going to stop you out on that 1 minute entry. Versus right here, we're not in that 4-hour gap yet. We don't really have sell side resistance, and you're going to get a lot smoother of an entry to that target because it's the only spot we could really go, right? So that makes sense. We'll take a look at your journal, what you wrote on Thursday. You wanted shorts, okay, and price told you otherwise, kept on displacing. I missed the entry and we took the draw, but we kept on displacing. So enter without hesitation when I see a clean, obvious entry. There you go. Again, if you see that we're running very cleanly off open to that target, don't hesitate to take that trade right there, because instead what you're gonna do is if you watch the trade play out, now you're like, I have FOMO, and now you're very easily going to just rush into something if the 1 minute is still looking good, and which it was looking good. We were displacing, and you're like, what if we hit these highs now? Yeah. But that's when it gets you. That's when you actually end up taking the loss, because what? You have confirmation bias on those lower time frames, and you're ignoring what the higher time frames are trying to tell you, kind of the lesson they're trying to tell you. So that's a good takeaway there. Most takeaways for these trades this week is a higher time frame. Yeah. Honestly, it's just a higher time frame, and that's the importance of it. And we're gonna go into your win Friday, because that trade did just hit straight TP, but it was due to the higher time frame. So we'll take a look at that. Okay, so this is a trade you ended up taking on Friday, and this one literally ran to full TP instantly, and there's gonna be a clear reason why did this happen. Now, at the time of this trade, were you confident in this? I would imagine you were relatively confident in this, or did the break evens from the week get to your head?
So obviously the break evens, they were on my mind while I was taking this trade, but I still wanted, I didn't want to take a stupid trade and end the week off in negative after 3 break evens in a row. But this trade, I feel like, was super clean and super almost, I don't want to say easy, but it was pretty easy.
Because all of the time frames were bullish, right? We displaced up, we retraced to this CPI candle, we held the candle, and again, we're at all-time highs. Every single time frame is bullish. Mm-hmm. Once you get this confirmation, you get this displacement, which is more aggressive than the way we sold off. The only spot for us to go is back to these highs. So you did catch your win of the week, but you did do a good job of mitigating losses, but you definitely took some sketchy trades, which might not be as fortunate next times, and you definitely can lose those type of trades. So that's why it's important for us to journal, to reflect. But we can see that, you were able to end the week positive, right? We got those 2 break evens, and then we got this TP on Friday. Again, 1 trade, whole week. So still following the plan. But yeah, we can see CPI, you were confident in the trade. You said you could have entered the candle before, which honestly I don't believe is the best decision, but you were able to journal it. You were confident in this trade. You took it, strong continuation, all-time high. And you can see, big lesson is when the higher timeframes are clean, because if we look at this trade right here on that day, we can very clearly see the high timeframes are clean. We have a strong displacing 15-minute gap, which we wick into and instantly wick out, which is, like I said, what you want to see from gaps. You want to see that instant reaction. You want to see it with speed, with volume, which is exactly what you got. You got your no-brainer, easy take of the week, and you hopped off. Easy 1 and 0, and that is pretty much for this week. All right, guys, so we wanted to do a quick little reflection of what you learned through the week, how you felt through the week, how do you feel now that the week is over? I guess, first of all, starting off, what did you learn from this week specifically?
So this week, I definitely learned to stay on the higher time frame until I'm given a reason to scale down, and make sure that we're not on the range on the hourly time frame or the 15-minute even, and just stay on the higher time frame for more probability days, to make sure that we're not ranging. And honestly, because I did have 3 break evens in a row, the one trade limit a day definitely does help. Because even though I'll tell myself, hey, I'm only gonna take 1 trade a day, if that limit isn't on, all it takes is for me to have a little bit of FOMO, even be a little bit mad at myself for some reason, and I'll lose 5 accounts that easily.
And especially that trade where you did FOMO in, it did end up going break even. That's definitely a trade where it's pretty easy to re-enter. You got break even on that trade and got locked out probably within a minute of entering, right? When stuff happens that fast, sometimes your mind can't even process what just happened in the last minute. That's why it's so easy to just re-enter a trade, to just revenge trade, to FOMO back in. That's why these limits are in place, because now the worst that can happen is you're forced to sit and look at that trade, and then when you really look at it, that's when you start to think wow, why did I even take it? But in that moment, when you're in the trade and you get stopped out very quickly, even if it's at break even, it's easy for you in that moment to not even realize like about the trade and think about the trade and see why it wasn't good. It's very easy to now see maybe another good candle and you're like, let me just re-enter this trade. And that's why it's so important to have those limits in place. So I guess what I was gonna ask is, you know, during the week, how did you feel when you were getting those break evens? Were you feeling really frustrated? Did you feel, you know, did you feel like going into the next days, you're like, oh, I'm just gonna get another break even? Or it's like, what if today's a loss? Or like, what was your mindset going into the day? Did it change after those break evens? And
so the first 2 days that I got the break evens, which was Tuesday and Wednesday, I was okay with the break even. You know, I'm learning to be more patient, trying to wait for the better setups. But definitely on the third break even, I was getting frustrated. Like, man, 3 break evens in a row. What if I end the week on a loss? Like, I could have been green, you know, all this could have been, and it really doesn't matter.
It's just negative thinking. It doesn't do
thinking.
anything. All it's going to do is it's going to lower your confidence, and it's going to make you in turn take a worse trade, because now you're thinking like, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that. It's like, you can't really change what happened. You might as well go into the fresh mentality. I always will say, it's like every single moment in the market is a unique moment. That's why you can't say like, oh, I got break even, now I'm gonna get a loss, or like, oh, I got a couple wins, now the loss has to come, or like, oh, I took a couple losses, a win is due. That mindset is just cope, because that's not how it works. Every single moment is its own unique opportunity, and you can see that is showcased through Friday. You got your opportunity, and I know when you saw that trade, you're like, oh, this is a free trade.
This is free.
This is a free trade, and that's why you have to understand every single moment is unique. And I do think that you probably took maybe 1 or 2 of those trades during this week where it's like, you didn't feel the same way you felt on Friday. Friday, you executed the trade, no stress, you got out and it hit TP, and you were kind of expecting it to. But some of the other trades this week, you were like kind of unsure about, half sure about, and that's one thing too. We don't want to take those trades because it lowers your confidence, and it kind of helps deplete your edge, because you want to be focusing on those, you know, true A+ trades that you're really confident in and execute those. I don't know if you have any other, you know, realizations or things you saw throughout the week.
So going back to the trade limit, if I would have taken 1 or 2 extra trades on Thursday, I would have been super red on the week.
Yeah.
Like, my account balance would have been down. I would have been more frustrated, and I could have even blown those accounts. And imagine if I would have blown those accounts and then Friday comes and I'm like, this is so free. Like,
now you miss the trade.
Why would I trade Tuesday and Wednesday, those like iffy trades, whenever a day comes like Friday and it's like, it's so free? Like,
exactly, and that's what all we're looking for. So, you know, going into this next week, that is what you can tell yourself. It's like, if something doesn't look very, very easy to catch, I'm just not going to take it. I'm not going to stress myself out. I'm not going to do this, and I'm going to be very cautious of the higher time frames. I'm going to make sure stuff is, you know, lining up. Doesn't mean you have to overthink everything and start getting scared. It's like, no, just zoom out, make sure you have rational thinking, and then when that setup comes, just execute it, no hesitation, just like you did on Friday. That's all you have to repeat. That's the goal going into this week. Again, it's to improve, journal like you're doing, but don't be, you know, blind to those higher time frames. Don't be blind to what the market is trying to tell you. Because at the end of the day, the market is always trying to tell you something. It's up to you whether you ignore it or you accept it for what it is. So I don't know if you have any other thoughts or things you wanted to say, but
honestly, this process, this journey that I'm currently on, the main thing I'm taking away is just being patient, like waiting for those true A+ setups to take. And I mean, this week especially, I journaled a lot, and I'm telling myself, hey, don't get stuck on the 1 minute, scale down to the 5 minute, the 15 minute, the hourly, just to make sure we're not in the range and I can have a good quality setup. Because if I do take a bad trade and I'm down on the week, and it's just gonna mess up my psychology, it's gonna mess up my mindset. And whenever, like, again on Friday, like, it was so free, I could size on that trade, and I only took 1 trade. The trade that did hit for me was on Friday, and it was for $800 on each account, or
it was like 600.
600 on each account, and that's the only trade that I won. I won 1 trade, and I'm up on the week by a lot. So it's just, if I catch maybe 1-2 trades a week, like, that's all I need.
Exactly.
I don't need to trade every single day. And this past week I did take a trade, because, you know, on Monday Top Step X was down or whatever, and I shouldn't have traded Tuesday and probably Wednesday. Like, I just shouldn't have traded them.
Yeah. Again, you don't have to trade every single day. There is going to be weeks. That's another thing. There's going to be weeks where there's 4 trades like Friday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, you got to be prepared for those weeks. But whenever you kind of ruin your edge and you run yourself down, taking maybe mid setups or like subpar setups, now you can start to get scared. And now you get that fear when you're like, oh, I got breaking the last couple of trades. And now you're maybe scared, or you risk less, or you don't execute the way you should when that true setup comes. So that's why it's, again, so important to not hold yourself to a good standard. You know, take the trades you're confident in taking, and then you don't have to take a trade every single day. Again, patience is always going to take place. I think you did a good job of mitigating possible losses this week, but there's still a learning experience. There's stuff you can learn on how to improve. So yeah, we will catch you guys in the next week.